It is March and spring is very near, which means we have to think about what seeds we need to start right now so we can get an abundant harvest. Today we're going to share 13 amazing crops that we'll be planting right now in the month of March. The first seed I'm planting this month, and you should too, are tomatoes. I'm going to start the longer growing tomatoes now, like the Chadwick tomato, the Berry's Crazy, the Cherokee tomato, the Costoluto Genovese, and the Moneymaker tomato. The rest of my tomato varieties I'll be starting in the middle of March because they grow faster. So I got my potting mix here, which is a mix of perlite, peat moss, coco coir, and compost. And whenever you start seeds, you want to have fluffy soil so the seeds won't have to work hard to push through. To start your tomato seeds, fill your seed starting tray with the mix and plant a seed per hole, occasionally adding 2 seeds per hole. You want to plant the seed a 1/4 inch deep. Then we'll cover it with a little soil and use a spray bottle to keep the soil from moving. Then we can use our fingers and slowly water the soil fully. Place it on a heat mat to germinate. It should take 5 to 12 days, and once sprouted, place them under grow lights and regularly give it some root booster fertilizer to encourage the growth of a strong root system. The next seed we are going to start in the month of March are eggplants. And you should start eggplants 8 to 12 weeks before your last frost date. This year, I'll be trying the Piccolo eggplant to see if they produce, because eggplants in our zone are hard to grow. This eggplant would take around 60 days to get a harvest from it. Last year we tried the Mitoyo eggplant and it did produce only 1 eggplant, but hopefully this variety will produce more than 1. To start your eggplant, use the same potting mix as our tomatoes and plant your seeds a 1/4 inch deep. Sprinkle a little soil over the top and water it in the same way. Eggplants will also need to be put on a heat mat because they will germinate faster. Once they germinate, you want to put them under strong grow lights to grow.
The next seed to start is peppers. Like eggplants, we want to start our peppers 8 to 12 weeks before our last frost day. Last month, we mainly started our hot peppers, so this month it's time to start our sweet peppers. This year I'm going to be trying out some new varieties, the Dukes, the Espagni, and I'm also going to grow this Argivarsky pepper. We're also going to be growing some good producing peppers from last year, like this Jimmy Nardello. Last year we grew some King of the North pepper seeds that we got in town, and those seeds didn't produce the actual King of the North pepper. So this year we got a fresh packet of King of the North peppers that we got from Baker Creek. Now to start peppers, we're going to start them the same way you would an eggplant, so I'll just plant some of these quickly. The next 4 seeds are cauliflower, cabbage, kale, and broccoli. These 4 seeds are all in the same family, the Brassica family, so the way for starting them is the same. Most of these I'll be starting in the middle of March, but I'll start some kale to show you since it's more cold hardy and I can plant it in a cold frame. First is to take a pot and fill it up with some soil. And the next step is to plant your seeds about a 1/4 inch. And for brassica seeds, they take about 4 to 7 days before they sprout.
The 8th crop that we are going to plant in the month of March is carrots. And I like the Danvers half-long carrots. Carrots can be planted as soon as the soil melts and when the ground is workable. To plant carrot seeds, remove all the lumpy material and tiny barks from the planting area. Then sprinkle some seeds over the soil or in rows. Use a sifter to sprinkle soil over the top. Then use a spray bottle and gently pour water over the soil. A tip to get straight carrots is to do not disturb the roots once they germinate. If the carrots are crowded, you want to leave them alone to grow, but you can pull out the bigger ones, leaving room for the smaller ones. Make sure to give it a lot of water and you'll get straight carrots every single time.
Onions is the next crop, but the best way to grow them is from starting them from seed. Before you plant onion seeds are only good for about 1 year, So if you have old onion seeds, those won't work and you'll have to buy fresh ones. I have some yellow of Parma onion that I'm going to start. And I'm also going to be starting my bunching onions. Onions are easy to start, but it can be hard to keep them growing. In fact, I struggled with growing onion seeds for many years until the life-changing moment for us was when some of our onions that was under our LED grow lights were still alive, but all our onions that we put under our fluorescent light would keep dying. That's because onions could die from heat and the fluorescent light was causing too much stress. So first is we're going to fill our cup with soil. Next is we're going to just press down the soil. You want to plant about 20 of them for a 4-inch pot. You could also plant a little extra, but you want to make sure that you're spacing all the seeds out. And now onions don't really like being covered in a lot of soil, so we're going to do a thin layer. And more water. Keep the soil moist and in about 7 to 14 days your onion seeds will germinate. Once sprouted, you want to place them under a bright white LED grow light so it's cool and trim the tops occasionally as they grow.
The 10th crop that we are going to sow in the month of March is celery. Celery is one of the crops we grew a lot last year. Celery requires patience and diligent care to start because the seeds are so tiny, just like basil. So we have to plant it on top of the soil and barely cover it. What I like to do is to sprinkle some seeds over the soil in each cell, and don't worry about putting a lot as they are too tiny to count. Use a fine strainer, or if your hands are delicate enough, sprinkle a little soil over the seeds and spray down some more. You'll want to put the tray in another tray where we'll put water to let the soil soak up it from beneath to not disturb the seeds. Make sure to keep spraying water on the top. I like to do it every few hours, never letting the soil dry out, and within 14 to 21 days you will have celery that's germinated. And then you want to place it under strong grow lights.
The next seed is basil. You want to start your basil indoors 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost day, or you could direct sow them outdoors once the weather reaches 10 degrees Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit. I got a container here filled with some soil for planting my basil, but basil seeds are tiny, even tinier than carrots, so I'll show you how to plant them. The key is we're going to take our basil seeds and we're going to plant them very lightly and near the surface. Then next is we're going to just spray them. Then with this super fine sifter here, I'm going to take a scoop of soil and I'm going to sprinkle it just very lightly so I have a thin layer. Just like that. Once the basil germinate, you want to make sure to place them in a bright spot, and once they get to 2 to 3 inches tall, you have to move them into their own pot, otherwise they'll stop growing.
The 12th crop that we'll be starting in the month of March is lettuce. We're going to be starting this new variety called the Joker lettuce. The description on it say it's beautiful as a painting and no joke. So when it grows, we'll see if that claim is true. We are also going to grow our classic favorite, the romaine lettuce, and our most cold hardy lettuce, the marvel of 4 seasons. I'm not going to start the rest of the varieties of lettuce that I have, as we still have lots of snow on the ground. But a few of these varieties just to plant in the greenhouse before I plant my summer crops in it, so I can get 2 harvests. So you want to sow your lettuce in a seed tray with soft, loose soil because the seeds are very tiny. Once germinated, lettuces can grow super fast and get leggy and weak, so it's important to give them strong light. You want to leave the lettuces in the seedling trays for about 2 weeks before transplanting them into a bigger container or outdoors.
The next crop to plant in March is Swiss chard. And what appears just to be one seed, there's actually multiple seeds inside the outer coating. For a single seed, there could be as many as 2 to 4 Swiss chards. I'm going to plant my Swiss chard seeds by soaking them first for 24 hours, which will help to increase the germination. After my Swiss chard seeds is done soaking, I'll plant them in a pot or in seedling cells before planting them outside.
Seeds 14 to 18 are flowers, the first being lavender. Starting lavender is a very long process, so it's best to start them now if you want beautiful flowers in the summer. The seeds need cold stratification to sprout, which means it needs to be in a cold environment like the fridge to soften the outer layer. To do that, get a paper towel and place the seeds on it. Fold it and spray some water on it. Then put it into a plastic bag and into the fridge for around 30 to 40 days. After, you can plant it indoors if your last frost date hasn't passed, or outdoors if the weather is warm enough. The next flower that you can start is sunflowers. Sunflowers should only be started outdoors 1 week before your last spring frost date. You can also start sunflower indoors, but they will grow extremely fast. My favorite way to start them is indoors because I can avoid any pesky rodents from eating the seeds when I plant it outdoors. I like to start them indoors around 2 weeks before my last spring frost date. And by the way, we have a limited edition of these giant Mongolian sunflower seeds that we harvested last year. We also have the flat winter boar squash, but we only have a few packets of the squash. So if you ever enjoyed our content and want to support us while getting something back in return, you can get these seeds at freshfoodforlife.com/shop. I'll leave a link in the description below.
The next two flowers to start is bee balm and the borage. Bee balm could be started 8 weeks indoor before your last spring frost date, and borage 3 to 4 weeks. Or if you don't want to do all that work, you could just direct sow bee balm 2 weeks before your last frost date. For a bonus seed, we'll give you cilantro. Cilantro don't like heat, so the perfect time for them is to plant them in spring. I'm going to be growing a slow bolting variety of cilantro, which basically means they won't flower or produce seeds right away. That way you'll be able to harvest more cilantro and harvest cilantro for longer. To sow our cilantro seeds, we're going to be doing a special trick. Because cilantro seeds has 2 seeds in each one of these seeds, and they have a very tough shell, and that makes it hard for water to get in, which then slow down germination. So I'll take some of my seeds and I'll place them in this plastic bag, which is just to hold them. Then I'm going to take this kitchen towel, I'm going to put it down and wrap my cilantro seeds in it. And next we're going to roll over the seeds with a rolling pin, and you have to be very gentle. Hear them popping. As you can see, the seeds are now kind of crushed up, but this will help to get water in, which will shorten our germination time. Now we are going to plant these seeds in a pot. Without planting cilantro seeds this way, they would take 7 to 14 days to germinate. With this method though, they'll germinate in only a few days, and we will get a much higher germination rate.
Before you go and start your seeds, it's extremely important to not make these 3 mistakes that would absolutely destroy your seedlings when they are growing. So I suggest you watch this video next and learn how to avoid all of them so you will have happy seedlings. Bye!